Warning, this episode contains adult language, mature situations, historically accurate but embellished events, tons of essays about the events that occurred, amazing artwork, the power of fandom, and the dramatization of the creation of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Listener discretion is advised. Episode 489, The Men Who Created Gundam. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spiraken Manga Reviews, some podcasts and reviews about connectly enhanced narratives. I'm your host Zan, saying konnichiwa, aloha, buongiorno, and what's up? Hope all of you are doing well out there in Internetland. Hope you're excited for another fun-filled episode of this wonderful podcast, which you can find at www.spiraken.com. Also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and various other social media sites. Just type in SPIRAKN in the search bar and I'll guarantee you'll find us one way or the other. And with that chilling out of the way, let's actually get to the review at hand, because if you remember for that last episode, I spun that only, the Wheel of Manga. And it dictated to me that I'd be reviewing a manga that was written by Hideki Ohwada, Hajime Yatate, and Yoshiyuki Tomino. Now, this was published by Kadokawa Shoten, but released in the United States by Denpa Publishing. These guys are awesomes, and this is one of the best published manga I've seen in a while. I love the way this book looks, and I'm excited to talk about this. But anyway, so this was released originally in Gundam Ace magazine. It is a shonen series that is a comedy drama, slice of life, and biography that originally came out in 2009. There are 2 volumes, but has been released in the US as a one-shot, so it is an omnibus. And what manga am I speaking about? I'm talking about Gundam o Tsukuta Otokoktachi, or The Men Who Created Gundam. Now, this is a manga which tells an amazing story that started all the way back in 1978, when a young animation director known as Yoshiyuki Tomino set forth to change the Japanese animation industry forever. This manga tells the story of how the series known as Mobile Suit Gundam was born. It's the story behind it, how it was created from the actual Gundam plotline with a very unique and very different perspective. And not just from a fan point of view, it's actually following Yoshiyuki Tomino, the creator of Gundam, as he works with his staff to create this amazing franchise and bring it to life. From its origin straight through to the release of the films, it is an opus to this franchise and also the insanity that happened behind the scenes. And a lot of this is dramatized, definitely. It literally opens up with the first recording of an iconic line by Toru Furuya, aka Noboru Sogetsu, the voice actor for Amuro Ray, as he says, "Not even my father has hit me before." And he can't get to punch the amazingness of that line. So what does Tomino do? He runs up and punches him in the stomach. And this is supposedly what really happened, according to this manga. Did it really happen? We're not entirely sure. It is super crazy and insane. There's a lot of just very nerdy and very cringy stuff in this, but it is brilliant in its insanity. And we find out much more about these characters, not just Toru Furuya. Also, we find out about Shuichi Ikeda, the voice actor for Char Aznable, who was this he was a drunk essentially, who came in, didn't want to do the voice acting at all for the character, and then he read about Char and he saw the design, he suddenly changed and had that voice for Char that we all know and love. It also has a lot of emphasis on Kunio Okawara, the mecha designer for the Gundam series. Ironically, he also worked on the Brave series franchise, which is one of my favorite designs ever. Gao Gaigar is the best, but I digress. And also, it just talks about all the different characters, and one of the characters that they kind of give a fake pseudonym to is the collective contributions of the Sunrise Animation writing staff. They just call them Hajime Yatate. So we're just going to combine all these characters in one character. And then, of course, I cannot talk about Gundam without talking about the collaborator, the true collaborator that Tomino had on this. And we're talking about Yasukazu Yasuhiko, the Yaz. Yes, the character designer for the series, worked originally on Yamato, and he's the animation director for episodes 1 to 3, 6 to 7, 13, 17, 22, 24, 26, 29 to 31. I think he got an ulcer from doing this, if I remember correctly, from the novel. And there's so many other characters that we do focus on and talk about, but I'm not going to focus on this. I'm not going to just tell you reiterating, because you should just read this. It is an energetic tome that is in kind of pick your own adventure order where it starts off in the middle, then goes backwards, then goes forwards, then goes all over the place. And it covers everything from their original design work to the fact that they decided to make Gunpla where it wasn't the hero that they wanted to focus on. Like, yeah, you had the Gundam who was just designed white and was cool. We could sell a toy with this. No, they wanted to design for the Zaku, and that's what made it popular. And then the contributions of the fans, how they made it more popular even when the show had been canceled because they had no one watching it. And how it rose up from the past and how they literally, and this is apparently true, filled up Shinjuku with thousands of Gundam fans on February 22nd, which they turned it into the launch of the new anime century with cosplayers and other things. This was the first time this had been done, and it is crazy. There's images of this, and just, it is truly engaging, intriguing, and insane. And this happened, and there's actually footage and documentation and tons of articles in this manga about all the incidents that occurred. And even if you are not a giant robot fan, this is engaging and insane. It's not a biography. It's this is what we think happened, and wow, it's a tome of a book. I'm holding it right now, and I could knock someone out with this book, but it is truly one for the ages. It's a book which is very different and very cool. The fact that it has the French doors and it opens up to some of the most iconic scenes from the manga. The front opens up to the first time the name of Mobile Suit Gundam is uttered by Tomino. And then the back, it has the article from that incident that occurred, which is the New Anime Century Declaration, which talks about the Mobile Suit Gundam movie number 1. And there's even more situations that occurred during this filming, during the creation of Gundam, which happened, and these stories put together this amazingly entertaining, engaging, and kind of addictive story that's in this giant tome of a manga that we've got released. And you could tell by the artwork that it is well done, it's engaging, and it's very different. And one thing I will say about this, more importantly than that, is that this was a love letter to Gundam. This is a love letter to the franchise, giant robots, and animation in general. This is something that I would recommend anyone to get. The design itself is, like I said, it's a giant tome. It's about the size of a small phone book, and it's got the French door, so it opens up, and Denpa knocks it out of the park again with a very sleek and modern look to this. And this is one I would recommend gifting to people just in general because it is such a great book. Now, on to characters itself. It is a little cringy with some of the stuff that Tomino does in it. I know most of you who have read reviews or seen videos on this manga have heard about the Shayla's nipples have to be pink situation. Yeah, it's stuff like that. If you have not heard about that, yeah, that's something apparently Tomino says. And there's so much more I want to get into, but I don't want to spoil the story because this is a historical, not reenactment, but it is a telling of this time in history when anime was small and that giant robots were just kind of not as important as they were. It was just, this is a giant robot to sell a toy line, not this is the story of the people involved in a war. And it's a realistic narrative that just changed how mecha robots were seen from that point on. And this is a huge point of what happened. And I can go on and on about the positives of this manga, geeking out about it. Now, a few of the negatives besides the point of contention I talked about, there really aren't a lot of main female characters in this. This would not pass the Bechdel test. There's no romance in this. There's a lot of drama, but the drama is kind of weird because it's things involving fans and trying to get money and things of that nature. So this might not be for everybody. However, for my rating, I'm going to give this really, really cool. You have to read this now, our highest rating. This manga is one of my favorite mangas of the year, and it's one which I would not have liked when I was younger because it is a lot of historical information. The articles, which are just about the events in general, are engaging and they're written so well. And these are from the original translations that these are. It talks about the ratings and how it failed in the design work for the characters, including the original Zaku design, which had two eyes, not the one mono eye that we're used to. There's stories about the new anime century event. There's stories about the release of the film. There's stories about the failures that happened because it had done so poorly. Because when it launched, like after the first episode, no one was watching except hardcore otaku. And then they started buying everything up. And that's what led to the revitalization. But, like I said, I'm getting into all the weird parts about this. But it's something which, it's a piece of history that's worth checking out. And one that I highly recommend. I say definitely check it out. It's definitely worth getting. And it's just pretty badass too. Just because of the design work. So if you are a Gundam fan, if you're a giant robot fan, if you're a sci-fi fan, or if you're a history fan, you're going to love this manga. If you're someone who's into ultraviolence, not so much. But there is some violence in this. Also, a lot of people get ulcers and some other stuff goes on. But I'm not going to spoil any more because you got to read this book. So now, if you've read this and you agree with me or you disagree with me, you can email me personally at Xan, that's Xan at Spiraken.com, or tweet me at Spiraken, and let me know your thoughts on The Men Who Created Gundam. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, or if you wanted to even pick it up, because it is a pretty expensive book at $21.95, but this is a great investment, and it's one of the better omnibuy that you can get a hold of. So with that in mind, let's actually get to the manga releases for the week. And these are for September 13th, 2022. We've got 23 new titles that came out this week. We have Chinese Fantasy, The Dragon's King's Daughter, Book 1. Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter, the light novel, Volume 6. Animal Crossing New Horizon, Volume 3. Call of the Night, Volume 9. And I've got to admit, this series has got a huge bump since the anime came out. And I like how faithful the anime is, and I love that we get the song that the series was based on in the anime. Definitely check it out. But next we have Cats and Sugar Bowls, Dinosaur Sanctuary, Volume 1, Dragon Quest, The Adventures of Dai, Volume 4, Fly Me to the Moon, Volume 13, I Think I Turned My Childhood Friend into a Girl, Volume 2, I Was Reincarnated as a Seventh Prince so I could take my time perfecting my magical ability, Volume 1. That's one a lot of us have been waiting for because the light novels came out and there's been no word on the manga, so finally the manga's out. Anyway, Ladies on Top, Volume 1, Mao, Volume 7, Mashle, Magic and Muscle, Volume 8, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, Volume 18, My Happy Marriage, Volume 1, Noragami Omnibus 1, which is Volumes 1 through 3, Pokemon Adventures XY Volume 3, Rose and Blood Volume 4, Skeleton Knight in Another World Volume 9, The Apothecary Diaries Volume 6, which is still a great series, World Peace Volume 2, Yakuza Lover Volume 6, and then last but not least, Yakuza Reincarnation Volume 3. So, for me personally, the ones I'm excited about are Yakuza Reincarnation, Apothecary Diaries, Skeleton Knight in Another World, My Happy Marriage, Mashle, Magic, and Muscle, surprisingly. I got a little addicted to it. I Was Reincarnated as the Seventh Prince. And, of course, Call of the Night. Which are the ones you're excited about? Let me know, xanspiraken.com, or tweet me at Spiraken. And now, before we get to the last part, I'd like to thank all of you who are listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. You make me want to keep doing this podcast as long as I can. To all my Patreon fans, thank you so much. You guys are just baller. That's what I got to say to all my society members. And I got to admit, I love doing this. And I'm going to keep doing this until an old man has to read manga with thick glasses or large print. And I'm going to keep doing this because I love it. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can email me personally at xan@spiraken.com. You can tweet me at Spiraken. You can check out any of our episodes at www.spiraken.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and various other social media sites. You can also support our Patreon, help us create more fun content for you to enjoy. That's at patreon.com/Spiraken. And go to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know your thoughts, and remember to like, share, and subscribe on all those things. And now, with that in mind, let's actually get to the part that you have all been waiting for. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about that one, that only, the Manga! Yes, friends, the Wheel of Manga, except no substitute. Now, what is the Wheel of Manga? The Wheel of Manga is a Wheel of Fortune with 10 slots on it. And what I've done is I've assigned a manga title to each of the 10 slots. So we're going to spin this Wheel of Manga. Whatever number it lands on, that's the manga review in the next episode of the Spiraken Manga Review, episode 490. We're at 490. We are 10 away from episode 500. And if you have any ideas for what we're going to do for episode 500, email me, xanspiraken.com, with your ideas. So with that in mind, let's spin and see what we're going to review, shall we? Number 8. So, in the next episode, I'm reviewing a manga that is an isekai, but it's not an isekai. It's a reverse isekai, where someone comes home after they've been isekai'd, but they're old. We're talking about Uncle from Another World. This isekai, a lot of people are talking about. I know there's a series on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but we're going to have to wait and see how it goes and how it turns out. So, can't wait to read this manga, and I'll let you know my thoughts. But, as usual, I'm your host, Zan. I'm Gonzville. I'll catch you guys next time, and keep reading manga. See you later.